All right, Shalom. I want to start off by giving all praise, honor, and glory due to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Kakadash. I'd like to give double honors unto the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who I learned this truth from. And I'd like to say peace and salutations unto the hopefully elect. And today I just want to go into, this tweet that came from Robert F. Kennedy Jr., about, Fed now. So, Lord willing, this lesson is edifying and straight to the point. And it reads, the Fed just announced it will introduce its Fed Now Central Bank Digital Currency, CBDC, in July. CBDCs grease the slippery slope to financial slavery and political tyranny. While cash transactions are anonymous, the CBDC will allow the government to surveil all our private financial affairs. The central bank will have the power to enforce dollar limits on our transactions, restricting where you can send money, where you can spend it, and when money expires. A CBDC tied to digital ID and social credit score will allow the government to freeze your assets or limit your spending to approve vendors if you fail to comply with arbitrary dictates, i.e., jab mandates. The Fed will initially limit its CBDC to interbank transactions, but we should not be blind to the obvious danger that this is the first step in banning and seizing Bitcoin, as the Treasury did with gold 90 years ago in 1933. Watch as governments, which never let a good crisis go to waste, use C-19 and the banking crisis to usher in a new wave of CBDCs as a safe haven from germ-laden, sluggy, as sluggy. As reread it, watch as governments, which never let a good crisis go to waste, use C-19 and the banking crisis to usher in a new wave of CBDCs as a safe haven from germ-laden paper currencies, or as protection against bank runs. And yes, that's pretty much what Esau Edom, by way of the elites, they're trying to do. They're trying to bring in their own digital currency, which is going to be by way of, the RFID, CHIP, So I'm going to start in the book of James, chapter 5. And it says, go to now, ye rich men, weep and howl for your miseries that shall for the misery. Go to now, ye rich men, weep and howl for your miseries that shall come upon you. Your riches are corrupted, and your garments are moth-eaten. Your gold and your silver is cankered, and the rust of them shall be a witness against you, and shall eat your flesh as it were fire. Ye have reaped, ye have heaped treasure together for the last days. Behold, the hire of the laborers who have reaped down your fields, which is of you kept back by fraud, crieth, and the cries of them which have reaped down enter into the ears of the Lord of Sabaoth. Ye have lived in pleasure on the earth, and been wanton. Ye have nourished your hearts, as in a day of slaughter. Ye have condemned and killed the just, and he doth not resist you. And yes, this is pretty much the time that we're coming into, They're trying to crash, the US dollar, in which pretty much the value of it is dropping more and more day by day, because they're printing so much of it, and the fact that, you have other countries like Russia and China that, and even Saudi Arabia that pretty much dropped the US dollar. They aren't buying oil from the US anymore. It's like they're pretty much using their own currencies, to phase out the US dollar, but Esau Edom is pretty much slowly introducing the world to his digital currency, which is going to be on this device, And I'm going to go to the book of Isaiah, chapter 36, verse 6, and it says, Lo, thou trustest in this staff, lo, thou trustest in the staff of this broken reed on Egypt, whereon if a man lean, it will go into his hand and pierce it. So is Pharaoh, king of Egypt, to all that trust in him. And yes, Esau, Edom, again, by way of the elites, they're the modern day Pharaoh. One, because they have the nation of Israel in captivity and they refuse to let us go, the same way the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart when we were in Egypt, ancient Egypt. He wanted to let us go, but the Lord hardened his heart just so he can show, his power. But ultimately, this is what Esau Edom is doing, He wants to introduce the world to his device, He wants it to be fully implemented. He wants everyone in the world to have this device, to be able to buy and sell, I'm going to bring out the main point. This is the book of Revelation, chapter 13, and I'm going to start at verse 15. And it says, And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as will not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And yes, only the elect of the nation of Israel will be the only ones to resist, taking this man's mark. Now you may have certain of the other nations that may not take it, but they're still going to be killed. But ultimately, those of the elect that don't, received, that don't receive the MOTB, they're going to be beheaded, which is going to be a testimony, for our Lord Yahushai, they're going to be risen up first. Verse 16, and it says, And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. And yes, that's pretty much what Esau Edom wants to do. He wants to chip everybody, to have total control, because he wants to be like the Most High, but he can't, But pretty much, this is what Robert F. Kennedy Jr. was explaining in that tweet he made, that this is what we're headed towards, the CBDC connect to a digital ID, which is going to be in that device, that tiny device, the RFID chip, So, Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory due to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Makakodash. I'd like to give double honors unto the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who I learned this truth from, and I'd like to say peace and salutations unto the hopeful elect. Till next time, I'll say Shalom.